Nowadays, alcohol is widely accepted in modern society as it is seen as a common drink, but it wasn't always that way. During the late 1800s and the early 1900s, the Temperance Movement gained momentum. The goal of the movement was to stop the abuses caused by alcoholism and to keep families intact. Men would end up getting into fights they would surely regret and would cause harm to their families. Prominent historical figures like Susan B. Anthony, Frances Willard, and Carrie Nation helped bring momentum to the temperance movement by doing things that would catch the public by surprise. There is a famous example of this. If bar owners did not close, they faced Carrie Nation's wrath, and their bar would be destroyed. Additionally, other societies, such as the Anti-Saloon League, had a big part in introducing prohibition to political figures.
The Anti-Saloon League had boosted up political significance and gotten people to vote in their favor. They had various campaign methods and ways of getting politicians on their side. Since the League had lots of power, they would set support towards politicians in favor of prohibition. The League had a very determined leader named Wayne Wheeler, who also knew how to manage their campaign methods and make sure that people saw it. This was the League's chance to gain power in the political scene, and then they pushed and ended up getting politicians to side with their beliefs. Their power became so big that it started to affect discussions in the US Congress.
Prohibition. I witnessed it firsthand. I had front row seats to the madness that surrounded this time period. First, let's take a look back at the history. You'll hear more from me later on.
On January 16, 1919, the 18th Amendment was passed in Congress and started taking effect on January 17, 1920. The day after, people were both in celebration and in shock, while groups like the Anti-Saloon League and the Women's Christian Temperance Movement were up in arms about their success. The 18th Amendment was supposed to be the law that killed alcoholism in America entirely, but it soon came to light that the public was outraged. While some were mad they could not get a pint of their favorite drink, others took advantage of the chaos. Bars and stores started to run out of any alcohol they had left. People who were rich enough to buy gallons of alcohol did it for personal use or to sell it for profit later on. Alcohol was running out in the United States.
There were people who wanted to drink alcohol, but since it was banned, they were left with a hole in their heart for the love of alcohol. People wanted it so badly that they would spend lots of money just to get a taste of what they could get their hands on. Some saw opportunity to make money off people's thirst for this rare drink. Many people started to buy up all the alcohol that was left in a rush, in hopes to resell it away from authorities' view. For the people who wanted to buy this, they would meet with someone called a bootlegger. A bootlegger was a person who would hide a tiny bit of alcohol, usually somewhere concealed. Some would hide it in parcels or hidden in the legs of their pants. While this was successful for a time, the flow of pre-prohibition alcohol had to run out one day.
Criminals needed to think of something fast, or their cash flow of selling illegal alcohol would start to slowly deplete. But there was a solution to this problem, and that solution was moonshining. Moonshining is the process of making alcohol on a smaller scale and is usually made by a small group of people, and is made with anything that could be turned into alcohol. This process was dangerous, and if they messed up the alcohol content, it could be deadly for the customer. Most moonshine caused lead poisoning, which would cause temporary blindness and sometimes death. With the chance of the alcohol running out, criminals now could keep their source of income stable. These criminals started to realize that if they could group into an organization, the power of their local communities could make lots of more money. A famous example of an organized crime group is Al Capone's gang. I came to Chicago with $40 in my pocket. My son is now 12. I'm still married, and I love my wife dearly. We had to make a living. I was younger than I am now and thought I needed more. I didn't believe in prohibiting people from getting the things they wanted. I thought prohibition was an unjust law, and I still do. Al Capone started in petty crime and gambling, but right after Prohibition, he got together with his old friend Johnny Torrio. With both of them combining powers, they started the biggest crime organization in Chicago. The gang was responsible for tons of illegal alcohol to flow into the state of Illinois, and Al Capone had made over $60 million annually from his alcohol business. He is now known as one of the most ruthless criminals in the time of Prohibition.
My name is George Cassidy, better known as the man in the green hat. I'm an unknown person, but I'm as simple as the average American. Came back from World War I and searched for an income for myself. At the time Prohibition was going on, I knew some people that had to get their afternoon fix on. So that's when I decided to get into the bootlegging business. My biggest clients were the men in Congress. What they did with the booze that I provided for them was corrupt. They would hide it in their suitcases, and they would hide it in the office libraries. By the end of it, I became well known in the congressional building. I never got caught. I lived calmly for the rest of my life. But just think about it. The hypocrisy of these men. The same people that voted for Prohibition were now sneaking behind people's backs just to get their cup of booze. Makes no difference for me. I still got my money.
During Prohibition, corruption spanned all across the U.S., which caused lots of alcohol to flow illegally through the streets of every major and small American town. Criminals took advantage of this when they would bribe people such as police officers and government officials. A police officer named Roy Olmsted saw how people were smuggling in alcohol and thought to himself that he could do it better. He started his business in Seattle, Washington, started to hire people such as lawyers and even other policemen. The government was disillusioned that the police officers and other officials were being bought out. But by the time they figured that out, it was too late. The damage for all the smuggling had been done, and there was no chance they could recover.
During Prohibition, theories about what the government did to stop the flow of illegal alcohol were able to catch people's attention.
A period, either 1926 or 1927, about a 4 or 5 month period where the federal government was actually poisoning alcohol, and this was really, really stunning, and hundreds of people died from it.
The 18th Amendment was a very short-lived triumph. As you've seen, there are many consequences, but in the end, it didn't affect me. Prohibition.